All right. All right.
All right, we just made it through an asteroid field.
We
Whew.
yeah, that was we had to we had some troubles with the broadcast. If by any chance you guys are tuned in just this moment, we had to Seth and I had to go to travel through time and space to a different kind of dimension for a second there. And you know how it works when you get stuck in these time loops, then reality, you discover that reality is not what you think of, and then you start contemplating your own existence and reality and where you are and who it is. And but finally we got back. So hello everybody. Yeah, I see that some folks are still with us.
All right.
Some
Nice.
are welcoming us back. All right, so
Okay, where are you so I could find where you're looking? You in
uh,
TGT or Kabbalah info?
I'm looking at both. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
looking at
good.
both.
All right, cool.
All right. Okay. So yeah, hi everybody. Hi Kevin, Melly, Mary, Isabel,
All right.
Parrot Girl Tattoo. Hey Timothy, Deborah. All right, Debbie. Hey, Grandma Patty. Good to see you too.
Hey, Grandma Patty.
All right, you guys. So we were just talking about how all the pleasures that we experience are fleeting. They stop, right? Just like our previous broadcast. You start something, you get a little bit of it, and then it goes away. You can't really continuously enjoy. The other program of nature is beyond all these interruptions in broadcast. It's beyond all of these hiccups that we have with our attempt to enjoy ourselves. The program of bestowal is this continuous cycle of eternal livelihood. This we in Kabbalists call it abundance. There is an abundance of light. Light means it's not the light of a light bulb. It's not even an illumination of when you suddenly have an insight when you understand something. It is the very energy that fulfills the foundation of creation, which is the desire to enjoy. Our desire to enjoy is actually a vessel that craves a non-material fulfillment that Kabbalists refer to as light. In our world, we think we enjoy cars and food and sex and family and whatever it is, but behind the scenes, this is what's happening. We have a desire that is craving uh, a different kind of fulfillment. A
In
fulfillment that,
short, we're
yeah.
in short, through time, this thing that we are, which is a desire, which is imagine that we are just a mechanism that can receive pleasure. And when we were just stardust, we integrated enough of this light in order to be able to sustain atoms, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
even prior to atoms. Then, as these elements organized themselves more, that mechanism was able to absorb the light and feel greater pleasures. We can call them pleasures. Of course, until we get to this kind of mind, we can't name them what they are. But we're in this field of light, and then we are some kind of mechanism. And even if we look at our lives from when we were young to when we look at our lives now, as this mechanism develops, it enjoys more and more sublime, we can say, pleasures. Right now we can listen to a symphony and cry and feel overwhelmed with emotion from a piece of music. Of course, a
Mm-hmm.
cat doesn't have the same experience, right? We're more developed. But as we were saying, I think as we got cut off, that there's a line. Basically, all of our development up until that line is all of our animal development. But now this mechanism is, we want to feel something endless. It's not enough for us. A song is 3 minutes long, and then it's over. Then I got to go back, back into the crap of my life. sex even ends, a meal ends, a new car ends. All of these things have some kind of ending, like an animal, like any animal. He eats, then he sleeps, he chases, then he rests, he whatever. So we have this similar animal life. So now, how here's our line. And what is this mind and heart development that's unique to a human? Because below this, we're controlled by two reins completely: pleasure and pain, pleasure and pain. That's it. And we could say, if we really studied this, there's nothing in our world that appeared out of nowhere. Everything appears from a cause and effect, a cause and consequence development. So if you just trace the cause and consequence back, there's really nothing in our reality that we can say happened by chance. If you had a big enough computer that can calculate each and every detail, um, then, I mean, how many billions of dollars did it take to send a ship to Mars? I mean, there's so many pieces of information that they're calculating. I guess if you threw enough money at it, you could kind of start to maybe build something that could even, I bet if we put the best psychologists and physicists in a room, like the Truman Show, you could like look at a person and even like know each and every decision that a person would make based on studying their parents and their history and all of the things in their
Hmm.
life. So how do we then get to some kind of eternal? Now you've brought up a bunch of times about pleasure from reception and pleasure from bestowal. You still haven't paid it off and told me why this is important, why this is related to free will and
Well,
my eternal fulfillment.
I hope, first of all, I hope the drama of this paradox that we live in is clear to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, we want endless pleasure, and yet we're stuck in a program that only gives us fleeting pleasure. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to stress. This is the conflict of perception and human perception and human experience. We are desires to enjoy. We want to have fulfillment. We want to be always happy. That's what we want to be. No one wants to be unfulfilled. No one wants to be in a state of deficiency and deficit. We always crave to be fulfilled. We want lasting happiness. We don't want to be the fact that we are, we're used to the fact that life is not all pleasure is just because, we're kind of like settling for what we've got. But if you were to design a different human experience, you would aim for, full time pleasure, 100% all the time. So why do we want endless pleasure on the one hand? We are designed to want that, and on the other hand, the program that we are locked in doesn't give us that. Whatever we try to enjoy in this world, it always goes
Let me add
away.
another question. Why are the most developed creatures in all of reality working from day to day to destroy each other and to destroy the planet? And even though we know that our behavior causes this certain destruction, like even though we know our behavior is like damaging the air we breathe and
Mm-hmm.
and creating a situation where our children, there was like 7 shootings in the last 7 days or something in the United States,
That's
like
insane.
I'm not even talking about, forget it, that's just what's in the news. There's been like 400 murders in Chicago or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
this year. So, but like I'm talking about, mass shootings kind of thing. Like, even though we understand that our lifestyle is just leading to destruction, why can't we stop? Why can't we choose to stop destroying? I'm just adding more questions on top of your
Mm-hmm.
questions, but why
What if
can't
the
we
two are
stop destroying?
connected? What if the two are connected? I would say the two are connected. Meaning, if we were in a state of eternal bliss, constant fulfillment, completely fulfilled, every one of us, just think about that, getting to that zone for a second. Everyone is just happily ever after, right? Everyone is just, it's like, it feels the only way we can, as creatures of, in the program of reception, the only way you can think about it is something like, like people lying, with their, like, with some sort of a thing going into their veins, just like a morphine going into their veins or something, and they just go like this, and that's life, right?
Mm.
but but theoretically,
Mm.
I mean, if we were, sounds good, doesn't it? If we were to live that way, no one would have a problem with anyone. This is why I'm bringing up this example. So our
It's like the
quest,
Matrix movie. Just hook everybody up in a pod and jam the morphine drip into them. And but
well,
then what's the purpose of even being alive?
that brings up another question. I'm just saying, if everyone were to be fulfilled, eternally fulfilled, no one would have a problem with anyone. Because the only reason we make a move, the only reason for movement in the world, for changes, for any kind of exertion of energy from state A to state B, any kind of change to happen, is only because there is a lack that I feel in state A, and there is some fulfillment that I crave, that I aspire to, that I hope to get in state B. That's the only reason to move from one state to the other, right? I wouldn't even move my hands or, take a breath if I didn't expect to get some fulfillment from it. That's how we're built. So the fact that we are in conflict with each other all the time in on this planet, in this world, has a lot to do with the fact that we are in conflict with eternal pleasure. We are in conflict with being happy. We want to be happy, and we're trying to get there, and
But
then on the
doesn't make
way,
sense to
8
me.
billion people are trying to do that, and they bump into each other. So, what doesn't make
It
sense?
doesn't make sense to me if if uh if eternal pleasure is on one side of the equation, why would I do anything else except what will bring eternal pleasure? Why would people continue to destroy everything in their way, which and end up, a person who has 1 million, he wants 2 million. A person who has
So what's the
four
question,
million
though?
wants eight. So the question is, why do we keep living such unfulfilled lives if we want something?
Well, no, you settle for what you have. This is reality. You try to make the best of it. Isn't it? Isn't that what everyone is trying to do? That's basically it, right? The thing
No, no,
is
we
this.
know that our
Yeah.
behavior is destroying us. We know it.
Ah, okay, okay. Well, we also know that we're emotional creatures, and our emotions and our needs, and our wants and desires are far stronger than our intellect. And that's why we do things that, in retrospect or on paper, are totally irrational, but we still do
Hold
them
on, hold on,
because,
hold on.
yeah.
You just opened up something. You said the emotions are stronger than the intellect, right? So that means that, wow, this is beautiful. We can hear that there's something called eternal fulfillment, which in our mind we can hear it and feel it, and it seems, wow, amazing. However, if you offer me an immediate pleasure or something I can do now and here, that's more powerful than that intellectual goal is big, and I'm unable to dedicate myself to that big goal it doesn't because I'm an emotional creature. So is that clear so far?
Okay, keep going, keep going.
No, no, you're not with me on this one.
No, I'm half with you. I want you to complete the thought, because
There can
I
be an
feel like you're in the
incredible
middle
goal.
of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
right? Let's okay. You're gonna win the Olympics. Wow, you're gonna be famous. Wow, I'm gonna be this. Okay, so now you gotta wake up every morning at 5 o'clock. No problem. I'm gonna be on the cover of every magazine and
Got
everyone's gonna know my name. Great. Okay. So Monday morning the alarm goes off at 4:30 and you're like, not really.
right. Okay.
Because the
Yeah.
goal may seem great, but the body has its own set of needs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's stronger than the mind. Okay. So
Yes.
if we can attach some kind of emotion to that great goal,
Mm-hmm.
that the desires can because all those thoughts, the reason they're not strong enough is because if we were burning for it can't just be a thought by itself. The desire for that sublime goal has to accompany it. That burning for that, if we woke up in the morning and we were burning for it, then that's stronger than just the alarm clock. But to wake up and just have some thought,
That
it's
that
not
what you
enough.
what you're touching on right now is really the the one thing that differentiates between humans and animals, and that is that we are capable of aiming for a um, a great goal that we build for ourselves using human consciousness, human imagination. We can build it up and to the point that we can agree to a certain amount of exertion and labor and even suffering and pain right now in order to move towards a greater goal in the future. That kind of complex calculation based on human imagination does not exist in humans. When even when
It
the you know what I mean, the animal
doesn't exist
calculates.
in animals,
Yeah, yeah. What did I say? Doesn't exist in humans.
humans.
Yeah, yeah. That's what exists in humans and does not exist in humans. The animals in animals. I'm sorry. Again, the animals calculate very simply. Present pleasure. Let's put it like this: present pleasure versus present pleasure. Oh, this grass is better. I'm gonna go there. The human calculates future pleasure versus present pain, and the future pleasure is amorphous. It's imaginary. It is envisioned. So when we build it up, we can even agree to study 7 years with for being a doctor in order just to have this MD label at the end of 7 years. We're able to do really big things that require a lot of planning and effort and investment without seeing results right away, simply because we can calculate that the imaginary reward is greater than all of even 7 years of whatever, just as an example. Yeah, someone who wants to study to become a doctor, we can calculate years of effort as opposite some future benefit. That that's something that when ants save food for winter or something like that, it's all instinct. There's no calculation based on imagination there. There's no thing like that. They don't
So
need to.
but
Yeah.
there's this kind of there's so many movies about this where like a person, he oh, there was a movie with I think Leonardo DiCaprio or something like that. It was such a well done movie, but it was so stupid, I felt. It was an
Which one?
incredible movie, but
Which one?
it was like somebody killed one of his relatives, and then he spent the next 2 hours like going through like cutting open a horse and sleeping inside of a horse and trekking through the snow to just to get revenge. Like he was able to suffer everything just to get
Mm,
to just
right.
to
So that
just for
that's character.
revenge.
I don't know the movie, but I can imagine that this is characteristic of humans, right? This is something that we can. Yeah, revenge is an interesting. That's a
He
very
was willing to
classic theme.
freeze and lose his
Classic theme
toes
in
and
movies.
frostbite,
Yeah.
sleep inside of a dead animal, and eat, berries
Okay.
and get
This just in.
just to get
Chris
revenge.
says it's the Revenant. The Revenant. Revenant
Rev-
is the film you're talking
Okay.
about.
Anyway, it
Anyways,
was a crazy movie, but it was such a dumb, emotional. I'm like, you're gonna spend your whole life just to kill a guy who. I'm anyway. The
yeah,
point
dude,
is,
but
is that
like
there's something
hundreds
more.
of these Hollywood movies, it's all about just revenge. Revenge. It seems
Yeah.
like it's a yeah. I really didn't. I also didn't. Never really got it. Like, why is that? Why are these? Why is that a justifiable aim? Sometimes. Anyway,
But
Hollywood
that's a
needs
very
to make.
human
They need to
thing,
make
is to be
movies.
able.
They need to make money. The Where were we? Humans. Yeah, it's unique to humans.
You're talking about
Yeah.
deferred gratification, as I think is why
Mm.
I brought that up.
Yeah, delaying. Yeah, delaying gratification. The Timothy asks us a question here that I think is going to really help us open this up. And let's go. Let's give us a few minutes here to go overboard here
What time
because
are we
of
going to, by the way? Because we're
well,
at
what?
our normal almost.
Yeah, I
What's our
mean we
timeline? Time for
let's give us like a 10 minutes to try to come to some kind of a conclusion with this that'll be
okay,
sufficiently sufficient for this session, and I think we're gonna have to get
okay.
back to it next week, I think. In any case, Timothy's asking this: what limits us from perceiving the path towards infinite pleasure, and what is its purpose? Good. I think that's a really good one. That's a deep question. Basically, what is the thing that we need to do in order to move from this program that is limited, where we can only get limited pleasure through our five senses in this material world: food, sex, family, money, honor, power, knowledge, whatever it is, it's always limited pleasure. What is it that prevents us or that stands in our way of moving from this limited software, which we called earlier a program of self reception, to a different program where you can actually be in a continuous, lasting kind of fulfillment, where we can just where it's a different kind of life, where we don't live based on minus and plus that constantly neutralize each other, but we are in a constant state of fulfillment that constantly grows and evolves. We call that a program of bestowal. What is preventing us? What is limiting us from moving here to there? And that is exactly where free will
It's a beautiful
comes in.
question.
It is a beautiful question. That's why I took the liberty of paraphrasing and expanding on the question, Timothy. I hope you agree. The um, so the key to answer it is free will. That's where free will steps into the picture. That's where free will has a place. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to crack this open right now, man. This We don't have a lot of time, but um, I'll riff on this for a couple minutes, and then you
Okay.
try to somehow complete it into a more complete picture. So everything that we do, this program that we're in, that we're locked in right now, this program of self-reception, that means that everything that we do is, if you were with us in the first part of this broadcast, Rabash, great Kabbalist Rabash, called this being servants of the ego. And that means that we are constantly serving this software, this program, and we don't even know that this is what's happening. When we are introduced into the idea, like right now, right, we're hearing that there is a different program, or when a person starts asking, what's the meaning of this program that I'm in right now? It appears to us usually in the form of questions about the meaning of life. What is the purpose of this all? What is the meaning of this whole chase that we're in? When this starts appearing in a person, it's a very unique situation because we have a question mark in front of our minds and hearts. When a person starts asking about the meaning of life, they don't even know that they're actually asking about, how can I come out of this program that limits me? How can I live a different kind of experience that is beyond the limitations that I am right now in? It appears in people as just questions about, where is this going? What's the meaning of it all? What is the force behind all of this picture of reality? What's the purpose and meaning of this life? What's it for? When that happens, you are facing a question mark. That is the beginning of a human being's free will. Anything before that, at least from a Kabbalistic perspective, is not considered free will at all. It's under the the same program of self-reception. It's just choosing the best of whatever options you have in a given moment to be fulfilled. That's what makes you end up being who you are, doing what you do, being a president or being a villain, whatever it is. It's just depending on the environmental circumstances and that calculation for what's the best benefit at the least cost. When you start asking about the meaning of life, you have a question mark. You don't know what that pleasure behind that question mark is. We don't know what spiritual fulfillment is like. That is concealed from us. It is deliberately concealed. The second part of Timothy's question was, what is the purpose of this limitation? This is the purpose. The purpose is to give you free choice, free will. Now, remember the fact that humans have a unique ability to imagine a future pleasure? That is the key to free choice. Because we are able to imagine a future fulfillment, meaning something that we are not currently feeling, because we can imagine our future state, we can use that ability in conjunction with this new desire for spirituality that awakens in us. These questions about the meaning and purpose of life. And if we start feeding that desire for spirituality, that desire for the meaning and purpose of life with an idea of what that future pleasure is, we do that only with our conscious participation, with our own free will. In order to do that, you're going to have to do an action that is beyond just receiving within the current program. You're going to have to work on your imagination of what that future pleasure is. You're going to have to surround yourself with an environment of people who do the same thing. You're going to have to build up that goal as something greater even than the physical life that you're in right now. What I try to do now is condense all of the whole spiritual work that Kabbalists explained to us into a few minutes, and it probably wasn't super successful. But the key is that because the spiritual fulfillment is concealed from us, it's a question mark. It's a question mark. It's not like any kind of fulfillment of this world that we see and we can immediately gravitate towards with our five senses. Because it is concealed from us, and because we as humans have an ability to imagine, to envision a future pleasure, we can make an act here that will be considered a conscious, free-willed, participatory act of the created being that has never happened before in creation. Everything up to that point was not an action of free choice. And any other action we do in this world, in this life, in this world, is also not an action of free choice. But only this move towards a fulfillment we don't understand, building it with our own consciousness, making a move towards it, even though it is concealed, building up the importance of it and the greatness of it, even though it is concealed from us, that is where free choice lies. I don't know, man. Can you add to that? Can you make that more more tangible for? I went to a very inner work kind of angle on this.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different there's many angles we can take on this.
Let me kind of just flip it around and look from another side, and then hopefully between looking at it from the two eyes, we'll be able to see something. Eventually, we discover that we don't have a complaint against anyone in reality, because eventually we discover that everything that's happening is a result of a cause and effect process. that's ancient. Um, we have this old medulla oblongata. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
all of
Yep.
these concepts we get from our parents. All of these, you know, we might not have the language from them, but all of these images in our subconscious we're receiving, and then from our education we're receiving, and um, so eventually, and everyone is being governed by these two reigns, pain and pleasure. So at some point, we don't have, you know, we discover that nobody has free will at all. Everybody is just moving according to this program, and we're inside of this program. But then we here are becoming conscious of the program. It's really interesting to discover that what we thought free will was, you know, it's like whether I choose the chocolate ice cream or the vanilla ice cream, or like whether I'm going to become a ballerina or a police officer. That's not really the free choice. That's just calculating, you know, just the machine calculating where am I going to get the most pleasure versus the you know,
Yep.
pleasure pain
The
algorithm.
the
Uh,
seeing
mhm.
all be the all seeing accountant that we all have in the
Right.
back of our minds.
Exactly. Each of us has some accountant back there just constantly calculating the pleasure and pain. And so
Yeah.
the free choice ends up being something completely different. And also it's very, very difficult to speak about it because it would take thousands of books to really open this up. But in short, we have to be above, you know, no cow can really discover the life of cows and study the life of cows, and no fish can really study the life of fish and understand the patterns of fish and the, you know, where fish migrate to. In order to study the nature, we need to be above our nature. So that's
Hmm.
what this whole, all these questions of why, that's what brings us above the animal part. And then we start to say, okay, so I'm inside of this system, and I start to see myself inside the system. And the magic is not that I'm going to one day have free choice to choose chocolate over vanilla, or choose to be a ballerina instead of an accountant. The free choice becomes that I choose to participate, I choose to become a conscious part of this entire integral system that I'm already in unconsciously. The
Hmm.
choice is to enter that, into this endless eternal system. And then there, I no longer identify with this protein body, which has its 100 years and then just changes form to another protein body after 100 years or 70 years or whatever it gets. But we're no longer identifying with that. Now we're identifying. That's called developing the soul. And now we're really opening up the whole wisdom here. But then we're,
So
that's
so
where the choice.
so what you said is is exactly, you know what, maybe Chris, can you bring up this the second part of this Rabash quote that we started from in the previous part of our broadcast? The wait a second, before you put it up there. The Seth, you were just talking about how the choice is to agree with and identify, sympathize, right? A conscious identification of the human with the system of reality, the system of nature that we are already in. That's a
The
big.
universe, all of the universe is only the known universe. There's even more than we know. And it's like billions of stars and galaxies. It's like, how much can I shove in my mouth in a day? And if I live for 100 years, how much can I shove in my mouth? And if I live for 1 million years, how much can I shove in my mouth? Like, I'm only capable of receiving so much, and even so much at a time in 1 hour. How much pleasure can I possibly receive in 1 hour? Give me all of the pleasures that are possible, but I can only receive so much. So how can I even access eternity? I
The
can't inside this body. I need to enter into some other system.
Right, but there was actually a different aspect here that excited me.
Okay.
What
Okay. Okay.
the
You're getting me
thing
very excited, actually.
the what I was excited about is how even it doesn't matter whether we are um, servants of the ego meaning we are servants of this program of self reception through which we receive pleasure, or let's say we grow out of that and we start identifying with and operating by the program of bestowal, the program of unconditional complete bestowal. Even there, we will still be servants. We will just be servants of a different program. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, to put it simply, right now, I enjoy just, stuffing myself with whatever pleasure I can. It's short sighted, it's fleeting pleasures, but I do that every day, and that's how I enjoy. I just this is not, this is not free choice. I'm being a servant of this program, this
I'm not judging.
egoistic
I'm not
program.
judging you. I'm not judging
Okay.
you.
I'm being a servant of this egoistic program that's running me, right? But let's say I work according to a different program, a program of altruism, a program of bestowal, where everything I do has an intention of doing good to all of reality, to all of creation. Even there, it's still running according to a program. So, isn't that? And so here's the thing. That's what I felt was present in what you were saying earlier. Anyway, let's go back to this Rabash quote. I feel he answers it in that quote exactly. The Go back to the beginning of it. Let's read the whole thing. Let's read the whole thing. The humans are controlled by pleasure. All right, we've covered that. And one who is enslaved by pleasure is a servant. All right, I agree with that. When our pleasure comes from reception, we are considered servants of the ego. All right, but if our pleasure comes from bestowal, we are considered servants of the force of bestowal. One way or another, without pleasure, we cannot exist. All right, so where's the choice then? All that one needs to discover is that he wants the force of bestowal and then ask for it. And this is man's free choice, since only this is the awakening of the human. Now, how profound and deep is what's encoded into this little quote here? What Rabash is telling us here is that of course, a person who discovers spirituality, who begins to live in this dimension of bestowal, in this intention of bestowal, is also following another set of code, another kind of program, laws of nature, just hidden laws from where we are right now, but they're also following laws. It's also following laws of nature, but making that transition, this awakening from reception towards bestowal, rising from one program to the other, is where free choice actually lies. And that goes back to what we said a couple minutes ago when we tried to crack open where that free choice actually is. When we are in the program of reception and the program of bestowal is hidden from us, concealed from us, it's deliberate. It's designed like that in the structure of creation so that we can awaken from one program to another and make a free movement, make a free action, a conscious participation in the act of creation. And that's the whole, when it's so beautiful, how Kabbalah explains it, and yet it's so subtle. It's so subtle. I don't know that it's such an easy thing to grasp before you kind of get yourself deeper into this wisdom and start applying and practicing it. But I hope we're trying to communicate something here. We kind of have to conclude. We're totally going overtime here. I guess we're allowing ourselves because of our lost first part of the broadcast. So I say we'll try. You want to try to maybe take a few questions quickly before we go? What do you say?
Okay.
Should we do that? Um, you see something there?
No, I
Uh,
didn't have the chats open, so let me
okay,
look.
here's something. I think Chris, you're saying this is from BT, and they're asking, how can I live limitless? So there's an answer to that. What would you say, man?
How can you live limitless? First of all, uh, so we're giving practical advice in a minute here.
Yeah, let's try to do a blitz of
Okay. So listen, if you
impossible questions answered in 2 sentences.
so
Let's
so
try
so
that.
let's just say we're doing impossible questions in a short answer. So if we had more
Mm-hmm.
time, we can open it up. So
Yeah.
in order to do that, let's just say like this, that if you were going to do anything, be a painter, become a guitar player, a doctor, anything good in your life, even whatever, it would take more than 3 hours, right? It takes a few minutes to do it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, in the meantime, don't give up your day job, meaning like, clean the house, take care, don't neglect your family, be a normal person. Separate all of your animal things in your life and deal with your life. Now, we're up there, and the question is, uh how can I live limitlessly? It's basically, you need to a person has two kinds of desires inside of them. One are natural: food, sex, family, money, all these kind of things. They're totally natural. And whether we lived on a desert island or whether we lived in a society, we would have all of those desires. A person also has a second kind of desires that only come to a person based on society. And if you put yourself in a certain kind of society, you're going to acquire their desires. And if you put yourself in another kind of society, you're going to acquire their desires. Here's your answer: plant yourself in a society of other people who are valuing this, value that limit, attaining that, and you will constantly every day be drawn towards it. And even though it sounds very, very, very simple, this is one of the keys to opening the entire wisdom up. So take that seed of yours to do it and plant it in a good garden where you're surrounded by other people who are doing it. And this will constantly, through envy, lust, and honor, and a whole other slew of forces, will pull you up there. Okay, next question.
That was a okay. I'm gonna try to really make it short. Debbie's asking, so free will is an illusion. Check this out, Seth. Check this out. Uh,
Okay.
and a short answer, probably not a satisfying one, but I'll try. Free will in our world is an illusion. End of story. Everything we do, think, and feel in our life, physical life, in our with our five senses, is, yes, that's an illusion, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't feel like free choice. Go, by the way, go to physicists and their explanations about how time and space work and how it's all predetermined and all of that, and even the probabilities are also something that exists in the beginning, and you'll see that logically, a free will has to be some sort of an illusion that we experience. However, that is all with regards to the physical level of reality. When we develop spiritually, every step of spiritual development has to include a component of conscious participation. That conscious participation is something that we add to creation. That is what we can refer to as free will. Now, we need to look at free will in a different way. Free will does not mean that we get to choose what is happening and who we are. Just like you didn't choose anything in your life that brought you here, right? You're like your skin color, your whole genetics, where you were born, who you were born to, anything, any point before you basically didn't choose any of it, right? So similarly, any point going forward until the purpose of creation is already set, it's predetermined. We need to look at free choice as it's a different aspect of reality. It is the way in which we experience our own evolution. And if we experience it in a conscious, proactive manner, we voluntarily identify with the creator of the plan, with the director behind this film that we are in. That is what we consider in Kabbalah as a free will, or an action of free will. I'll stop here. That's all I can do in 2 minutes. The we got a few more here. You ready? I'm gonna throw at you something. Okay.
Go ahead.
Julie was asking earlier. Julie Dehan was asking, where was it? There we go. If we find ourselves as servants of bestowal, does that mean that we've lost our free will?
Okay. We're in a field of endless light. Like, take $1 million and hand it to a little baby. She has no need for it. So, as it says, there's no light without a vessel. So, our whole work is not to attain bestowal. Our whole work, all of the spiritual work, is only to desire it. That is because there's no limit, there's no lack on the side of the light. It's always there. We don't need to be it, make it. It's all there. Our whole work is to just make that vessel. And the more we want something, the more we can enjoy that thing. If you have no desire for something, like the baby with $1 million, she doesn't care. So our work, it never ends, Julie. I mean, there is actually something called the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th millennia, which is, beyond everything. Right now, we're still in the process of correcting creation. So do we find ourselves as servants of bestowal? We actually find ourselves between reception and between bestowal. And that's where that's where the choice is. We will always find ourselves between heaven and earth. Next question.
I think there's maybe a few more, but I think we're gonna have to wrap up. Maybe we can sing a song together with everyone who joined us for this. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining. This was great. Thank you for these questions. Timothy here, he kind of summarized the answer to this question, and I think it's a good one. So let's read it and maybe move on to a song and end with that. He says, okay, so what limits us from directly perceiving the pleasures associated with the path of infinite pleasure is the space
New classic.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to read it again. What limits us from directly perceiving the pleasures associated with the path of infinite pleasure is the space of our free will and active participation in the thought of creation. Thank you, Timothy. It's great to see that there's that we're feeling each other. Everybody. There's a reason and purpose why we're here in this world. There's a reason and purpose why we feel that we need to know the meaning of life. And those who were fortunate enough to feel this right now, in this lifetime, in this world, in 2021, are the pioneers of the great transition that all of humanity is going through. You'll see, one way or another, humanity is going into a dead end in this world, and we're going to have to rise to a new level of consciousness, a new level of experience, and we're going to have to realize our free will as well. And we're starting to do this. So thank you guys for being with us. We'll be here again Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, hopefully without any broadcast hiccups. See you there.
Bye, everyone. Big hug. See you Thursday.
Disconnection got us falling. We come to tell you of the future. Teach love by one and all. one. We wanna know, do we make your heart sing? We do. We wanna know if we can sing this love song to you. We want you to know that you make our hearts sing. You do. And we need you to know we sing this song to bring joy to you. We are living in a world of love. We are singing all in one song of love. The reason for living